For us, unfortunately, this repentance, this rethinking, metanoia in Greek, conversion, this existential shift, this reversal of values, finding success in failure and life in death, is a very tricky thing. And it gets harder and harder the more we have to lose. Most of us live in relative comfort. Most of us can claim to be pretty good people. We live in a relatively free and sophisticated society with material conveniences and cultural privileges quite close at hand, protected by the most powerful military that the world has ever seen. So without our even having to think about it very much, or be called upon to make difficult choices, the rules of the game work in our favor. We hedge our bets a little and make room for God, but we don't really sacrifice all that much to do that. We come to church if we don't have guests, or it's not raining too hard, or if we don't just live across the parking lot and are kind of expected to attend. None of us really give more than we can really afford, and I don't think we're materially called to do that, but we are called, and we don't think about this very often, to turn our inner world upside down. No matter how much the current state of things makes us feel good. We're called to change our perspective, to stand on our heads and realign our values away from conforming to the world's rules for the game, or the church's rules for that matter, or anybody's rules. On the way of the cross, there aren't any rules. There are no directions. There's just one step at a time, with a soul that can acknowledge its own spiritual poverty, that mourns a loss of unity with being, with all that is that we can only vaguely remember. I think we're called just to ask ourselves, in kind of cliched fashion, what would Jesus do? And to try to keep that from becoming too sappy or too Christian, and be willing to face what might be a comforting in the long run, but maybe not comfortable answer. At some point, though, we may be called to act on what we believe, to stop hedging our bets, to let go of the benefits that the world has given us and really take a stand for an upside-down world, without any assumptions that we'll be praised for it or even succeed in creating this new way of life that we're trying to bring about. We may be called to take a risk, to set off with whatever armies we can muster to die in Brazil, even though we may be fools, as Paul says, even though we could get wiped out in Kamchatka along the way. I don't know what role the church at large, or St. James in particular, will be called to play in what seems to be a pretty rapidly and radically changing environment. A whole new world up upside down and off the map that is happening, whose birth we may be witnessing. As they say in AA next door, I pray only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry it out. Thanks be to God.